Hi, everybody. It's Peter Mullins here for another great conversation on sales metrics. And I'm very excited to be joined by Cynthia Handal, who's the head of Global Sales and Evangelism at Simera. So, Cynthia, welcome to the conversation.
Hi, Peter. I'm really excited to be here. Thank you for having me today.
Absolutely. When I look for guests, I'm always looking for folks that take a real strong interest and have experience in measurements. And when I came across your LinkedIn profile, just incredible the amount of metrics that you do tracks. But before we get into that, I'd love to kind of hear your background because you have a very interesting sales background that you've been in this industry for some time. I'd love to hear sort of how you got to where you are today.
Well, I was born and raised in LATAM before moving to the States, and my entire career was purely outside sales.
Hmm.
Before the pandemic, I was the director of sales and business development for a company that is the biggest commercial real estate director in Honduras and Costa Rica. They own the biggest malls. So my life was door to door prospecting. I had a team. They were full cycle sales. And the way the team did sales was basically prospecting door to door, getting the meeting, doing the meeting, running your meeting, closing the deal, the contract or the lease space, and owning the account as in account management. So it was a little bit more than full cycle sales. I did that for 8 years, and the pandemic happened.
Right.
I had never sold in English before.
Mm.
It's my second language, just so that you know.
Right.
And I was there like thousands of other people, millions, that I didn't have a job. I was laid off July of 2020. Everything's closed
Wow.
down. I don't know what I'm going to do with my life.
Hmm.
So I started applying to every single job I could see there on LinkedIn. I didn't even know what an SDR was. Just so
Yeah.
that you know, I remember reading the post about sales development reps, and I was like, what is this? Like,
Right.
I didn't even know it was an entry level position. So I was so desperate to find a job. All I knew was real estate, commercial real estate, which is a completely different thing than computer software or tech. And I wanted to restart my entire career. I had the sales knowledge, and I knew that I was given this opportunity to restart my entire career. So I applied to over 100 jobs. I'm not going to lie. And essentially, I got a job. A company from Boston called me and they offered me an SDR job. I said, I'm going to take it. I don't have anything to lose. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not going to find a job in LATAM. Everything's closed. Commercial real estate's a very small sector because there's 20 big players, and I knew all of them. I had worked for actually the biggest one. So it was going to be tough to find a job in that industry. So I restarted my entire job as an SDR. And I remember reading this book that changed my life. I still have it next to me. It's Fanatical Prospecting by Jeff Lamp. Like, this is a must read for every BDR and SDR out there. And I really took it seriously. Like I said, if I want to restart my career, there's thousands of people that have been doing this a lot more time than I have to step up. Like, I remember my manager saying you have to do 40 cold calls a day because we were calling car wash owners to sell them car wash point of sale systems. And I said, no, I'm going to do 3 times that. I need to
Wow.
step ahead of the curve. My English, like, I spoken English all of my life, but I wasn't selling in English. So you can assume that I was a little bit rusty. So
Yeah.
I also needed the practice. And I'm like, no, I'm going to do 120 calls. I need to do the activity. I need to do more than everybody else. I need to catch up because I was competing against somebody else that her English was native. She was also from LATAM, but English was her first language. So it was easier for her to get conversations than me.
Right.
So I started doing 120 calls a day. 15 days later into the job, I book my first meeting. Meetings start coming in. Everybody's like going crazy. They're all coming from me. I'm like talking to car wash owners. I have
Wow.
no idea what I'm doing, but I'm booking meetings left and right. I hit quota 6 months in a row. I was later promoted to an AE and later to a BDR manager. Long story short, now I'm at Simera. 2 years at Simera. I've been running sales, full cycle sales. I run the BDRs and the AEs. And it has been a ride, but I think metrics have been a huge part of my success
Hmm.
because activity is everything there is when it comes to sales. Like,
Hmm.
I don't believe in anything that anybody says that, oh, you just send 3 emails a day and like if you personalize and tailor and then you send a LinkedIn connect and then no. Sales
Right.
is all about activity, consistent follow up, and pushing the deal as much as you can. Not even hard selling. It's all about putting in the activity. That's how I have been successful in every single one of the jobs that I've had in the sales world. Purely activity.
Right. It sounds like right from the very beginning. I mean, when you were doing with the mall and with the door to door volume and and consistency sounded like it mattered right from the start. So, when you're looking at activities, what do you determine to measure? Like, are you just doing straight up measurements on number of calls and number of emails sent, or how do you think about what to measure there?
So first things off, I can talk about the BDRs and then I can talk about myself. So with the BDRs, I already tried the approach of letting them prospect on their own. And
Mm,
because of the Simera ecosystem having a total addressable market that is so huge, like we're
hmm
reaching out to any company out there in the USA that has open remote job listings.
hmm
Essentially, it's like looking for a needle in a haystack. Like
Right.
if you start prospecting, and let's say you get 50 companies and you call them, you might only have one good conversation and it won't lead to a meeting. So the first year we tried letting the BDRs prospecting, we were successful, but volume wasn't there. The
Mm,
second year we changed things up and we're like, you're no longer going to prospect. We're going to give you that back that time so that you can actually do more calls and use a power dialer.
right.
Meetings went up like 50%. I'm not going to lie. I was doing last summer around this time with 18 BDRs, I think I was doing like 110 meetings a month. 18
Wow.
BDRs, 110, that's bad. I so far this month I have 150 meetings in the book with 10 people on the team. You
Wow.
can totally see the difference. Productivity went up with less people, half of the people actually. I
hmm
have half of the people that I used to have now because we changed the complete strategy. We're doing a lot more calls and we're being more transactional when it comes to the conversations. Like if you get a good conversation, this is the message that you have to get out there for your team. We're no longer letting the BDRs prospecting. We gave that time. You should spend as much time as you can on the phone having those valuable conversations. So dials is the one thing we measure with BDRs.
hmm
Emails, we gave them the templates, and basically is you pick 150 people from the lists that we're giving you per week, and you do the sequence that's working for us 3 times a week, period. That's it.
Got it.
And LinkedIn outreach with the context that we provided you, nothing
Okay.
else.
Okay, great. Now, when you have those measurements, now with a team as large as you have, how do you use metrics for managing individuals on your team? Do you use like dashboards? Do you get like daily reports? How do metrics work into
Yeah,
your management
so we
structure?
use HubSpot dashboards to track activity. Obviously, at the end of the day, we even have a metrics channel where everybody has to send a screenshot of the dialer of the
Mm,
dials that they connected, just because even though our dialer is integrated with HubSpot and we can see the actual conversations, um, it's another in-depth conversation that even if you change the disposition, sometimes the dialer doesn't dispose the information over to HubSpot. So we're having them send a screenshot of their dialer end of day to track how many dials, how many connected calls they have. And the emails, they're all fully tracked as well. So we can take a look at that and how many emails they're sending. Plus, we have a live calls tracker where all of the recordings of the connected calls are in, and I can listen to them real time as well.
got it. Okay. And now, how about going upwards? To your senior leadership. What kind of metrics are you using to report up to them and have strategic
So
discussions?
up to them, my quota, my team's quota to them is qualified completed meetings. I have a quota of 140 qualified completed meetings per month.
hmm
And obviously, we're measuring the quality of the meetings and we're putting the meetings into buckets. Meetings are divided into a needs work,
Yeah.
future opportunity, a will buy, and not a fit. Those
Got
are
it.
the 4 buckets that we're doing. So anything that falls within the 3 buckets that are future opportunity, needs work or will buy counts as a qualified completed. Anything that's not a fit doesn't count.
Got it. Okay, that makes sense. Now, the theme of this podcast is the desert island dashboard. So I'd like to ask, What for you is that one magic metric that either you think is essential, or if you were to advise, a colleague that's looking to start measuring, what is that one metric that you would advise them to take
I
up?
think looking at the number of qualified completed meetings that you're having per day, because that's the only thing that's going to help you understand how many of those meetings are actually closing, how long your sales cycle is,
Mm,
how fast the deals are closing, and how much pipeline does each account executive have that the BDRs are providing. Because if you're not looking at that tracker, there's no way that you're going to know, like, each AE, if your sales cycle is like what, 45 days, 30 days, you know that each AE essentially needs X number of needs, work, will, buys, or future opportunities to turn into X number of deals. So for me, it's only about the qualified completed meetings, what counts at the end of the day.
got it. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, and especially because if you have qualified them, then it is a controlled metric. It's not simply like, as important as activities are. There's a clear service level agreement that you have between the BDRs and the account execs to ensure that a because not all calls are equal, but once you start standardizing that service level agreement, then you have a standard by which to measure the quality of those meetings that are being handed over.
Exactly. For me, it's that, because even if you're getting future opportunities, they're qualified. And like, one lead one day might say, I'm not interested today, but let's keep in touch. Things can change in 10, 5, 15, 30 days. So for me, that's the only thing that matters to the AEs. In a desert island, if I could take the BDRs with me, it would be calls. The only
Right.
thing that I would take with me, the number of dials, because email is great, but we know that email is full of noise. I get like 100 cold emails a day. I immediately delete them. So it's cutting through the noise. It's, that whole thing where you have to have 10 different inboxes to actually
Hmm.
get a couple of good meetings a month. It's a whole different strategy. Calls is the only way that, you're going to get that volume. You're going to get that number of qualified meetings that you
Right.
need.
And for Simera, is it do you tend to see more qualified meetings, like a higher conversion rate for getting qualified meetings out of calls versus emails? I assume that just given the
The
volume.
BDRs, yes. They're, I would say, 75% of the meetings that come directly from cold calls.
Mm,
Then 25% of all of the meetings, or probably 30 or 40% of the pipeline, comes directly from me,
right.
because I've built a huge audience around remote work and about hiring remotely in LATAM. So I'm getting like 4 to 5 referrals per week. People are reaching out to me directly on LinkedIn because of what I've built. I'm getting people reaching out to me via email. So
Mm,
I'm doing, like, this month, just me, I got 29 meetings, because this week was amazing. I booked 11 meetings all by my own, and I
wow.
I I do calls with follow-ups, but again, I'm very thorough with the emails I send, with the follow-up I do. So one customer refers me to another, people reach out to me via LinkedIn, people even call me to send me leads over. So I'm doing like 30 or 40% of the pipeline just by my own, and I'm doing full cycle sales with that. My metric is completely different.
That makes sense. Yeah. Well, terrific, Cynthia. This has been a fantastic conversation. I really enjoyed getting to hear your story as well as your perspective on the
Thank
Desert
you.
Island metric.
Thank you. It was
Absolutely,
a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
absolutely. Thank you.